I don't know, if there's obviously belief shapes behavior.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of the reason as to why a lot of I get the type of people who are just like on every religious post are just like, oh gosh, you guys are stupid or whatever. Like, I get it because like there's a certain extent to where a belief in God extends to an acceptance of certain other values.
Mm-hmm.
Values such as blind faith, although all true faith is blind.
Right.
That like accepting truth without evidence is really dangerous. So I mean, I'm that way just in my head because I like having friends.
Yeah, it'd be hard to live here for very long if you really wanted to get in conflict with people about that. I mean, I don't know. I just think that it doesn't, like, if there is a God out there somewhere and he really is like who people say he is, like, in my experience, there hasn't been much evidence of him like reaching out to try to change my life.
Yeah.
So if he is out there, then it doesn't really, he's not like a part of my life, so it doesn't really matter. And if he's not out there, then he's not really a part of my life because he doesn't exist. So
yeah.
Either way, my life is unchanged.
Yeah.
And if other people believe that their life has changed based on the belief that there is someone out there wanting to talk to them or wanting to be a part of their life, then they can do that. But yeah, not for me.
But I mean, like, that's sort of the problem in sort of not acknowledging the initial, just simple notion of a God. Then you're still also allowing for the potential other problems that come with maybe putting incorrect reasoning behind certain conclusions. So I don't know. It's hard, and again, I don't engage.
Right.
But like,
yeah, I will say that. But I think that's in that case, like, the enemy isn't. And I do think that, like, one definitely correlates with the other, but I don't necessarily think that it's a causation. That I think that the belief in God isn't the problem. The belief in, like, dogma, like this, like, blind faith in this tradition and what's right and what's wrong is based on, like, what your grandfather believed is right and wrong. Like, if morality isn't changing and evolving as cultures do and as your interactions with people every day do, I think that, like, the more you interact with people and the more you kind of shape this you that is ever changing. So I think this, like, inability to change and this, like, steadfast, like, belief in no, like, you're wrong and I won't change and you won't change, so, like, I'm gonna fight you or whatever. Like, that's what starts wars, and that's a dogma thing. Like,
yeah.
So, but I do understand that, like, without God, so far, a lot of the dogma that we know is because of a belief in God. But I think that the dogma is the real enemy, and I think that empathy and this kind of, like, realizing that everybody has a personal experience and that changes things and makes things more complicated. Like, that's kind of, like, the way of remedying things, kind of fixing dogma.
Yeah. And it's not that, like, I don't consider people's experiences or whatever. It's just that, like...
No, I understand. It's just when people are yelling on the internet about things that are obviously, like, really racist or sexist or something based on the teaching of, or what they believe to be the teaching of something, which is actually just the social connotation of something. Like I said before, like, I don't necessarily think that, like, Christianity is wrong, but I do like disagree with the connotation of like American Christianity and what it means to be a Christian in America for the most part.
Yeah.
Like I'm not attacking like all Christians in America, but there's definitely like this more often than not, like all abortion is wrong all the time and like racist undertones and
and
with it.
A lot of what I try to do, and even through conversations that I have on this podcast, is that like I expect that if you're going to have an argument or a rule or something, is that it has to be consistent throughout, or else you're just being a hypocrite.
Yeah.
And so if you are going to say that, you know, abortion is wrong because killing is wrong, then that has to extend to all other examples of killing. And so you can't say, well, in this instance,
like war is
killing,
okay.
killing is justified, but in this instance, it isn't. And based on the severity of how adorable the thing is that you're killing, then, you know, that's whenever we decide, well, that's just an inconsistent argument, you know.
Well,
or at least
and it's interesting to like bring that into like a political realm where you realize just how much this kind of like Christian dogma has affected conservative politics and how like, but at the same time, like that double standard is present that, you know, abortion is wrong and the act of, quote, killing a quote infant or whatever is wrong. But, you know, like they're going to cut funding to like all of these like orphanages and cut funding to like social, like some of the like driving like socialist kind of thoughts that give money to some of these like less fortunate people that are more in line with a lot of their teachings and beliefs. Like, why is that okay to like cut education and all these things? So in a lot of ways they're pro-birth but not necessarily pro-life, and I've heard that argument and I kind of agree with it.
Well, there's also an extent to which the point that you make that like sort of dogma is the enemy, that like they're not even following the dogma of their religion, they're just following the dogma of conservatism, or at least with the whatever the hell conservatism is now.
Yeah, that's true.
Especially given that, like, I don't even know what it is anymore right now, and especially since the political spectrum has just, like, they've turned around on each other.
Yeah, it's weird. I'm not smart enough to really, like, understand. I listen to a lot of people that are way smarter than me about their opinions about it, and they're all stumped too, so. Yeah, I don't really know what to say.
Because, I mean, because I have these views that will, you know, obviously be construed as like, oh, you're just like a dumb progressive liberal or whatever. But then I also have these other views that are kind of like, man, that's very unprogressive of you.
Yeah.
And for one, I think that, I don't know your stance on it, but it could be a good train of thought that we could follow, is that, like, I find it very difficult for society to accept that some people must now be called Z instead of he or she.
Yeah.
And that is going to be very challenging if we move forward with that, or if we reject that, then we have to accept that it is reasonable to reject that.
I have a couple of, like, trans friends and acquaintances, and my stance on it is, you know, whatever they want me to call them, I'll call them what they want.
Sure.
And I don't think that it's unreasonable for society to have to kind of change the way that they've been doing things in order to protect people's feelings and to respect people. And I think that if that means they want to be called Z instead of him or her or whatever, then that's fine. I think that some people get kind of sensitive about it, and I think that sensitivity is justified, but at the same time, like, me being as non-confrontational as I am, I feel like if I was in a similar situation, I would just kind of smile and nod and never talk to them again. So I think in a large part, like, yeah, I think that it should be okay to kind of like put that kind of imposition on society to change every once in a while based on identity. And I think that, well, identity is really changing at this point in our lives, be it through this like conversation about this kind of transgender idea. It's like a new thing in society. It's not necessarily a new thing, but
Yeah.
you know, it's becoming like more and more aware of in society, and that's changing culture, and just everything is changing with technology and things. I don't think it's too big of an imposition to have people be called what they want to be called.
Well, yeah. I don't think that's as much of a problem because, I mean, yeah, people have been getting sex changes or whatever for a long time. It's more so the threat of someone losing their job for not following those things, which is dangerous regarding freedom of speech.
Oh, okay.
That I don't have a problem because I do have a friend that would like to be referred to as they, and while it is difficult for me to like switch that, you know, I respect them, and so I will refer to them as they, and so because which would extend to anyone else who I know that would prefer to be called Z or whatever. It's just that if someone maybe accidentally does so or just continues to forget or something, is that in certain universities they are like it's some law in Canada now that like people can lose their jobs over it.
Yeah, I don't think that that's a role of the government to decide those kinds of things. I think that it's more of a role of the individual in society, and I feel like more specifically in reference to you and your friend, and like if you forget to call them they realize that you like accept them, so they're not necessarily going to like hate you for it or want you to be fired or something. It's not like, it's not necessarily as charged of a term, especially in this transition period between like of society where we're not necessarily like as acquainted with that, the idea of that being a thing that happens. I think that it's just as much as it's society's role to like accept them and refer to them as they want to be referred to. It's their society, it's their kind of role individually to understand that there are people that do mean well and want to support them, but are due to like certain habits that they've grown up with or what have you, certain factors that,
or just the fact that they had never referred to a person as they before.
Right, and that's a new thing, like that they need to be patient, and that's easy for me to say, to tell them to be patient, but I think that it's kind of like a something that you kind of have to do. It kind of comes with the fact of going public with that kind of thing. You have to be patient with other people accepting that kind of a change, even in your own family and things like that. But obviously, that's coming from, you know, a white straight male. So take that with a grain of salt.
And I guess like technology has a lot to do with that now too, because you're now able to sort of put yourself out there in a way that like you can't just wear like a name badge that says call me he. I mean, your badge is sort of how you present yourself to the world. But now because the same friend that asked to be called they the way they did it was on Facebook, and it was like, hey, I'm gender fluid, and I would prefer it if you call me they, but if you don't, that's totally cool, which is totally the right approach of doing it. But it makes, like, Facebook makes it possible for them to do that, and makes it possible for us to actually wear a name badge in our technology body.
Yeah, I mean, it's complicated. Identity is this weird thing now. Basically, like, Facebook and Instagram and social media is like our critique of ourselves that we, like, present to the world. Like, this is the me that I want everyone to see. And then, but at the same side, there's this flip side to that, like, forums and random Reddit stuff that you're just a handle. You know, you don't have a identity. Like, you're anonymous, and you can say whatever you want, and you can be as mean as you want or whatever, and you have no ramifications for saying whatever comes in your head. And so there's kind of this, like, one side that's like this extreme fake, like, side of yourself that you want, of who you want to be in reference to, like, everybody seeing you and judging you. And then there's this other side that's kind of like the antithesis of that, but it almost becomes, like, more charged in some ways because it's fueled by this, like, anonymous.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, let's talk about authenticity for a second. Because even in a lot of ways, our society values authenticity, like, really highly. Whenever Mariah Carey puts down the microphone and the speakers are still singing, like, even though everyone knows that she probably is lip syncing anyways, like, no, she, like, took away the veil, like. And that's not my words. That's my teacher's words who pointed that out. Patrick Conlon.
Yeah, the suspension of disbelief.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, another thing that had come up in class is that, like, the authenticity of a country artist or a Christian artist, like these musicians that put forth this persona of being, hey, I'm this country guy who drives a truck and wears my boots and I love beer and stuff and I'm a good God-fearing man, and then whenever he steps backstage from the country concert, is like, I'm gonna go home and I don't know,
have a New York accent.
Yeah, just anything, like, and as soon as that's discovered, like, you don't like that artist anymore. We really value authenticity. And then even extending into, like, social media, that, like, we put a persona of ourselves, but, like, it is very curated, and you're also, like, I acknowledge that I'm not being authentic whenever I make a Facebook post or whenever I tweet, because it's again the version of myself that I would like people to see.
Right. Yeah.
But at the same time, like, authentically, is that really me? I hope so. Because in a way I'm marketing my authenticity.
Yeah.
Through this podcast and through all other forms of media that I put out. Like, I'm not a persona. I'm not selling anything yet. So, like, what I am trying to give people is authenticity.
Right. And that's what a lot of people are faced with this kind of, like, popularization of the internet and social media, is like, how much am I Nathan Kent, Facebook, Instagram artist, whatever, and how much am I Nathan Kent, the guy who sits on the couch and, like, watches TV.
Yeah.
Like, how much of, like, is this me at my best, or is that a me that I aspire to be, or is that, like, this, like, Facebook side of myself is what I'm talking about, but...
Yeah.
Or, not that I'm even really that active on Facebook, but...
Yeah.
Yeah, I think... But that's what I was kind of talking about in the previous podcast, about how, like, Lucian Freud and Francis Bacon, like, they just exuded this kind of, like, genuineness. Like, I make art, my whole life is about art. Like, I might be a dick, but, you know, I make art, you know. I'm a painter, and you kind of respect that quality in somebody, and that kind of, like, realness, and you know that, like, they're so, like, weird and, like... I don't know, like, so devoted that, like, you know that they don't have time to be anything else. Like, there's no way they would have, like, a double life or anything, because their whole life is in that. So, but with this kind of, like, selling yourself is kind of this cultural capital, and, like, if you're, like, a country music star and, like, your thing is that you ride a truck and sing songs about your dog and drinking beer or whatever, like... And you aren't that, like, the only thing, you might as well just have a different name, you know, like, you could be, like, Keith Urban on stage and, like, John Smith and the rest of your life, and people wouldn't care, but if you're Keith Urban on stage and then Keith Urban and the rest of your life and they're two different people, then it's like Stephen Colbert or something.
Yeah.
Like, he was, like, this totally, like, different, like, Republican crazy person on his, like, TV show, but you realize that in his real life he's, like, progressive and whatever. So it's just kind of like, it gets complicated because...
Well, even then, whenever you start considering, like, people who are an act.
Yeah, like a parody
like Stephen
of the...
Colbert or Larry the Cable Guy. That should we respect that they are an act and... like, continue appreciating the farther they go in this act, or should we, like, because there are people that don't like it, that they're like, how could you be this person on stage and then not be that, because you represent all the things that I like.
Right. But it's almost, like, so obvious, because he's so much of an archetype that it's, like, obvious that he's making fun of it.
Not to some people.
But... To me, anyway.
Yeah.
And so, like, it's easy for me to appreciate, like, oh, like, it's a joke, it's a parody, like, it's satire. But, like, if you really, like, try to draw a line in the sand of, like, how much, like, when do you start respecting the act for an act, and when do you, like, when is the act some kind of, like, you're fooling me, you're trying to lie to me, like, I don't know.
Oh, I think the other part that really goes into the authenticity thing is whenever it starts dealing with money. So, like, let's say your art gets really famous or something, and, like, it's like, oh man, I really respect, like, what you're saying here. I'll buy this art for millions of dollars or something. And then what if at some point it just comes out and you're like, you know, I actually didn't really know much of what I was doing. I was just kind of making it and kind of saying that, like, I think the people who appreciate this stuff would buy it, and so that's why I did it. You know, that would be, like, a giant hit towards, like, what you're selling, because, well, I thought that you were saying these things, and...
Yeah, in the art world, though, it's so complicated. Like, there's artists that, like, legitimately, like, do that, and everybody knows it, but people appreciate it because that's what they do. Like, Damien Hirst, for instance, is an artist that makes a ton of money for doing what he's doing, to the point where he's a businessman instead of an artist, and he's not really even making anything, in large part because a lot of, like, the paintings he made in his early career, like, people would paint it for him, and he wouldn't even, like, he would say like, paint this photograph for me, and like a painter would paint a photograph for an hourly wage or whatever.
Yeah.
And he didn't even take the photograph.
Yeah.
So like, but the fact that like he wrote his name on it and made money off of it, it gets complicated because like, is the idea or is it the orchestration? Like,
Yeah.
like Beethoven wasn't the dude that was, you know, playing the violin in the orchestra.
Yeah.
But he was the guy that wrote the music that the dude is playing. So like, who's making the music here? Is the music in the performance, or is it in the idea of the performance? Or so.
And I mean, we have sort of dived into that in school. That like, since music is this sort of impermanent thing, like you can look at a score, but it doesn't make music.
Right, it's not music.
Is it music too? Like, because like you have music on a page, but it doesn't do anything. It doesn't even say anything. It's just stuff on a page.
Yeah.
And like, so the music is the sound over time that happens, or is the music on the page actually music? Straying outside of that concept, because that's a whole rabbit hole on its own. I think that to an extent that people value authenticity regarding money is because people appreciate the honesty. So whenever like Banksy was doing graffiti, like truly graffiti, and sort of doing this social commentary, like
he was truly anonymous, wasn't interested in making money, so people were interested in it because he was doing it.
Yeah, but now his work is worth a lot of money.
Oh, yeah.
So now whenever Banksy does something, is it for the money, or is it because he's still doing social commentary? And it's really hard to say.
I mean, you could argue that nobody could be genuine after having made it and being rich. Like, you could argue that even if he was doing it for the right reasons, he would still be changed by even the idea of getting recognized. But like in his case, like it's a complicated one. Like, he formed this kind of like company. I forget what the company's called, but it's basically just like a bunch of dudes that like authenticate like his paintings. That's like, if somebody's trying to sell it, like they have to come and look at it and say if it's a real Banksy or not. Like, this idea of like, did he really make this painting on a wall somewhere? And so yeah, Banksy, like, he gets money for it, but like he's not really participating in the business side of it.
Yeah.
Like, he basically like delegated that to other people so that he could still do what he loves to do in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
So it's complicated. Like, does that make him like a more authentic artist than some other like street artists?
Yeah.
Maybe, but maybe not. I don't know.
Because even whenever you said like formed this company, like already his street cred went way down in my head.
No, totally.
You know?
Yeah.
So it's like, oh man, like, yeah, I represent, you know, rebellion and social commentary and stuff, but as soon as you put the word company into it, it's like, geez, there's no...
True.
And that's like the same thing with like any other like activist group, anything that...
Yeah.
Because I get email alerts from 350.org, and it's like, hey, this happened. You should be worried about it. These executive orders about pipelines are like, you should probably worry about that. And then, but it's also like, click here to donate, which is just like, oh man. Because like, I appreciate that they have concerns, and probably genuine concerns about the environment, but also the fact that they are asking for money is also suspect.
Yeah. Especially not knowing what happens to that money. There's always a kind of like... It's almost like a paranoia, but it's really just kind of like a skepticism of like... there's things that you're not showing me, so I don't trust what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah. Is there a way to be fully transparent so that your authenticity stays intact?
I guess not. I don't know, like, then you're starting to get into, like, the limits of, like, even language. Is there a way that we can express ourselves how we truly feel 100% of the time? Anyway,
Yeah.
is that even possible? Like, I don't know. But I do think that, like, striving for authenticity is a noble goal, and I do value it. And I think that, like, you bringing up the fact that, like, money kind of, like, emphasizes, like, the importance of authenticity to certain people, or I guess, like, makes people more aware of people's faults or lapses in authenticity, I guess, is interesting, because, like, money as, like, a currency doesn't really have value.
Mm-hmm.
So in a lot of ways it's all, like, this runaround game of, like, what we choose to believe and what we choose to tell ourselves, and it gets complicated.
Yeah. Because then even regarding, like, Hillary Clinton, and that's why, like, voting in this election, I can't vote, voting in this election was so difficult for people regarding Hillary Clinton, because while she at least claimed to stand for, like, progressive views, so, like, progressive people would have considered voting for Hillary Clinton, but her authenticity is suspect, given that she is a large part, like, contributed by banks and corporations, and so it's like, should we accept that?
Totally. But the same thing could be said for the other side in a lot of ways. Like, Trump wouldn't show his tax returns, and he still doesn't. And, like, a lot of people think that voted for him because they believe him to be authentic, because he would say off the wall vulgar things. And you're like, if you're going to say this, then you must mean what you say. But from the same coin, there's all of these, like, hidden deals and hidden agendas, and I mean, it might be giving him too much credit, but like,
I don't think he's as stupid as we think he is, but I don't think he's that smart either.
Yeah, I can accept that.
Because to suggest that he's 100% authentic is not true, because there's just so much money involved. And so it should be suspect that he signed orders for pipelines. It should be suspect that he still has stock interests in his companies in certain things.
And for me personally, I believe that for him to prove his authenticity to me, as little as that matters, he should have liquidated all of his assets. Like, all of them. Like, in reference to his company and stuff. But, I mean, him not doing that, like, I believe that he has some, like, weird and still some investment in this company that he's making laws to support. And I don't agree with that. But I think that other people, like, as much as it, like, is weird to say, like, authenticity is relative. Like, people's view of authentic and people's, like, acceptance of, like, how much authentic is enough. Like, that changes from person to person.
Yeah.
So.
But even to the extent that, like, I mean, we started this conversation talking about religion, and that, like, if you truly believe that if you believe in Jesus that you're going to heaven, authenticity literally weighs on your afterlife. That if you inauthentically believe in Jesus, then
you're actually
God will be able to tell.
He knows. God knows. I guess is what they.
So, like, maybe that is where it comes from. Why we value so much authenticity is that like God can tell how authentic you are, and so like if you're not as devoted as you're supposed to be, then God will smite you down. So I mean, like, that might be why we pursue authenticity so much.
As like an American society based on Protestant.
That's just a hypothesis, but like, a lot of it could stem from that, like, how honest are you about yourself? How honest are you about your God? And so, like, a lot of what I challenge is, keeping that authenticity consistent.
Yeah.
In that, again, if you're going to say that killing is bad in one sense and not in the other, then you're being a hypocrite and inauthentic.
Yeah.
Because, I mean...
And it's hard to argue with that logic without just saying, because the Bible tells me to do it.
Yeah.
But actually, like, a lot of people don't even read that. Because my pastor tells me that it's the way that it is, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, because, like, I grew up Christian too. I was raised Catholic, and you see the crosses in places around my room.
Yeah.
But the thing is that, like, so there's this big disconnect between, and sort of big argument, in religion regarding, if you're saved by belief or if you're saved by works. And on the Catholic side of the spectrum says, well, you have to do these things. You should be doing these things in order to get to heaven. And on the more Protestant side, it says, well, no, you just have to believe. It doesn't matter what you do. Like, you're already saved.
Like, if you're really saved, you'll do it anyway.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah, but that's, if you're really saved, you'll do it anyway. That already, like, so you should be doing it? Sorry to, like, veer all the way into religion again, but, like, the... going into, like, even our relationships with people, that, like, you are expected to be authentic with your wife. I'm expected to be authentic with my girlfriend.
Well, there's kind of this responsibility to be authentically, like, consistently, because they love the person that you are, as you are the person that you choose to try to be and to be. But if you decide to make, like, if you just all of a sudden, like, make a bunch of, like, totally different decisions, and like they won't really know who you are anymore.
Yeah.
And you won't even know who you are anymore.
Yeah.
So you almost have a responsibility to yourself to kind of maintain sanity, to choose to be the way that you are authentically, like, to remain consistent in a certain way. But does that justify, like, certain feelings that promote hate or something like that? Like, I disagree with that. So I guess there's that kind of, like, paradox of, like, I need to be myself out of a responsibility to myself, but what am I? And, like, what does that mean for me going forward?
Yeah. And, I mean, yeah, you should probably have these conversations with yourself by going, like, okay, well, if I'm honest with myself, I hate black people or whatever. And it's like, well, should I hate black people? Do I like the fact that I hate black people? And so even being more authentic to yourself, should you be like, maybe I shouldn't hate black people because I don't like me hating black people.
Right. Yeah.
For example. But even kind of what you were saying earlier, that the persona that we put in Facebook or something, like, if there was a way for you to be 100% authentic and 100% honest all the time, even the barriers of language and stuff, that, like, what are you actually able to honestly represent to your significant other?
Mm-hmm. I mean, to a certain degree, like, how much are you even aware, like, even without language, like, just feeling, like, how much of your feelings can you, like, if you really, like, try to, like, distill it all down to, like, what you actually feel and your, like, core self and your core beliefs, like, how much of yourself is so fleeting that you can even, like, pinpoint it down to be honest with yourself completely, to be 100% authentic to your own, to somebody that you are with literally, like, every waking moment, like, yourself, like, like, there's so many, like, variables and things too, and I mean, that's just kind of like the direction that my mind works and that my brain goes, is just, and a lot of what, like, my art is about is, like, how there's just so many variables, like, everything is so uncertain and everything is so, like, to, like, assume that you know anything or to take anything for granted or to, like, know anything for certain is absurd. Like, that whole idea is impossible. So even, like, the attempt of, like, trying to fool yourself is, like, what Camus called the absurd. Is fooling yourself into believing that you know anything, that you know what you're talking about, that you know. And so much of being human is, like, coming to terms with that, even if you're not aware of that inner dialogue, to, like, choose to be as authentic as you can and to choose to be positive at moving forward instead of, like, fatalist and nihilistic and just giving up.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a tangent.
Well, no, I think that it's perfectly good because this conversation doesn't have to go anywhere. But I mean, do we accept that absurdity? Because, like, you could become fully nihilistic and go, yeah, it doesn't matter whether or not I know myself, because I can't. So screw it. But
I think that, like, when you have those thoughts, and everybody has those thoughts regardless of their belief, like, questioning, like, what's the point in something or something else, and, like, and that goes back to, like, the cynicism thing of, like, whenever you have those thoughts, like, are those productive thoughts? Does that take you in a place where you want to go? And you start thinking, well, maybe I don't want to go in that place. Like, maybe I just want to give up. So if your end goal is to, like, give up, then keep thinking those thoughts. But if your end goal is to, like, move forward in a direction to achieve some kind of a goal, and that goal is, like, being a better artist or being happy or making friends or having a family or whatever, like, it's important to, like, pursue the thoughts they kind of put you in the direction of where you want to end up.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's honestly why, like, how you're saying that if you want to keep going, then you should probably put your thoughts in a better place. Then that's honestly why I'm so optimistic, like, almost to a fault. Like, my second thing is it's going to be okay. Because you really have no choice, like, because if it's not going to be okay, then sure, you'll die. Like, and that's, like, the worst. Well, not even, because you could just suffer infinitely forever.
Yeah,
like,
that would be
that's
the
redundant,
worst.
but like, you don't want that. It's not in your best interest to make things worse.
What
or
you
allow
decide
them.
is your best interest.
Yeah.
As a sovereign human being.
Sure.
Who's responsible for making his own decisions on life.
Yeah.
Be them ethical or moral or...
So on this other podcast I listened to, Dr. Chris Ryan keeps he's kind of that age where he keeps telling the same story over and over again.
Yeah.
You know, those people that, like, maybe you've had a teacher in school or something that if you, like, get them on the right tangent, they'll just say the same story again. You don't have to do any homework. But so Chris Ryan is he's a really cool dude, but he keeps telling the story about whenever he was younger, he tried to get this job as a, like, suicide hotline, like, basically trying to keep people from killing themselves. But whenever he was doing the job interview, he, like, did pretty all right during the whole thing, except at one point they asked, can you think of a situation where someone killing themselves would be a good thing? And he was like, yeah, lots of times. Like, I don't think we can have you for this job. And so, like, I can justify that there are probably situations in which killing yourself might be a solution. Those are very scarce, and before arriving at that conclusion, you should probably...
Once you've exhausted
yeah,
all
you should
options.
Exhaust all options, because there's no going back from that decision, literally. So, like... yeah, I can think of some situations, but it's very hard. Mm-hmm. Like, you were probably not in that situation.
Yeah. If it's a question for you, then you're probably not there yet.
Yeah. But I mean, given that option, still, like, yeah, if that's a question for you, then you're probably not there yet. Then at that point, you should just consider just radical optimism. Just really stupid optimism.
It at least makes it a lot more easier to take life in general.
Yeah.
Like, just makes it a lot more enjoyable experience. And so if for no other reason, you might as well just enjoy what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like, people can, like, be cynical and logic loop you into, like, being pessimistic all that they want, but at the end of the day...
And they do it to themselves, too.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, like, if you want to be happy, and that's what makes you happy, then you should keep doing it.
Yeah. No, because, like, it really just doesn't help you to be negative. It doesn't help you at all. Mm-hmm. Like, so...
It's been my experience, having lived a life, having lived years of pessimism in contrast of my more recent years of optimism. I definitely think that I have a lot better things happening going on, and that I'm attracting a lot better relationships and a lot better just opportunities in general. I think success has come a lot easier to me with that mindset than with a cynical mindset or a paranoid mindset or a depressed mindset.
And I honestly think that, like, more people are more optimistic than they think. Like, because even though they say, like, it's kind of, I have a friend who constantly, like, gets into these, like, depressive fits, you know, and he texts me randomly, like, what's the point of anything? And I'm like, okay, but do you want, like, he's like, everything sucks, and, like, what's the point of me doing anything? It's like, well, do you want stuff to suck? Does sucking suck? He's like, yeah, and I'm like, so don't don't do that.
Don't put yourself in that
Yeah.
spiral. Yeah.
So, like, everyone is more optimistic than they think because everyone knows that sucking sucks.
Yeah, it does.
So, even kind of looping back into authenticity, that, like, if you're kind of more honest with yourself, probably more optimistic than you think you are because you don't like stuff sucking either.
Right, yeah.
Because, I mean, yeah, if you're honest with yourself, then you probably wouldn't enjoy stabbing yourself in the hand with a spoon repeatedly. Because I'd just rather not do that.
Yeah.
And if you can go upwards from there, you're probably going places. I always enjoy making things as ridiculous as possible because it allows points to come across a lot easier. Because rather than making a really dull example, more ridiculous thought experiments are more memorable.
Yeah.
I think there's this one webcomic, Saturday morning breakfast cereal cartoons. I don't know if you've ever seen them. They're really good. I'd recommend it. It's like really, really smart humor. But he kind of said that, like, in one of his comics is like a good teaching tip is make examples really ridiculous. Either really ridiculous or really morbid. Because it stays in people's heads better.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I've considered teaching for some time, and so I feel like I would utilize that quite a bit. Your art sort of utilizes a sort of that absurdity. To what extent is that optimistic, do you think?
I think it's always. I think absurdity is always optimistic in that it's always ridiculous rather than morbid.
Yeah.
And I think that just coming across in it just has like a sense of humor to it, but in a way that's maybe unconventional.
Yeah.
Yeah, like in my sculptures, I use a lot of unconventional materials, like hair nets and just random shit that a lot of people like shy away from because it's not fine art or it's not archival or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think like elevating hair nets to like a fine art standard is pretty ridiculous.
But it also makes it really cool. That, like, that's something else that, like, makes some of the stuff that I do at school really interesting and really fun. And the fact that I get to go, like, this is what I did at school today, is that for one assignment, we were basically told to sample something, like get a recording of something, and then through Ableton Live, the program I was using earlier, you're able to put samples in there and, like, make such a small, like, sample, like, just a grain of it to just basically make an oscillator, to be able to make notes out of anything.
Yeah.
And so, one of my friends who wasn't in class that day, but asked about, like, hey, what's the assignment? And I explained that to him. He goes, cool. And then later he messages me and he says, I'm sampling farts. Yeah, it's great. It's good to be able to sample farts or use hair nets in fine art.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, do you think that laughter is a correct, or not even correct, but just an appropriate response to your art?
Yeah, I think so. I don't really laugh at my art, but there's a certain personality, I guess, that goes into it, and certain sides of myself that do certain things, and certain sides of myself that don't do certain things, I guess. So I guess the analytical side of myself is what's making art, and I can appreciate like people taking it in like a kind of comical way, and I think that I definitely like insert some of that in there, and this kind of like critique of contemporary art, and this kind of like being utterly like unimpactful in some ways, and just like really anticlimactic, like I was mentioning, like the joke that takes itself too seriously. I think that it's kind of like an anti-joke, you know?
Yeah.
And like you don't always laugh at anti-jokes, but you get them, and some people don't appreciate them, and that's fine. But
same with puns. I make a lot of puns.
yeah.
No, I think that it's good to acknowledge the absurdity of what you're doing as well. Do you laugh whenever you're making some of the stuff?
No, not really.
Because, I mean, if you're acknowledging the absurdity of something, I think that in one of your Instagram posts, you were, like, saying, like, oh, what could this be? Is it a...
Oh, yeah. The sphincter or the nightmare maw? Or...
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's like, I appreciate that because to an extent, yeah, you're like, hey, this is art, and like you're supposed to get something out of it, but at the same time, it's like, this looks like a sphincter.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually have, it's like, since I make work about like non-forms, and since I draw in like sustained gesture, like shapes come out and stuff, so I have this like little sketchbook that's full of just like, that I'd never show anybody, but it's just like weird faces and turtles and I don't know, like dogs with giant erect penises and whatever comes out. Yeah. It's just like this, like, oh, that kind of looks like a turtle. I'll draw that real quick, and then I'll like cover it up because I've got to finish this drawing, and I was just like a part of it.
So do you put forms in your non-form?
No, because like
you do it intentionally to be non-form.
Yeah, so it would kind of be like inauthentic in a lot of ways to like leave little clues, because I'm so like, a lot of it is in response, like against, like as a critique of some of those like more traditional like symbolic things of like, I hid this skull in here to remind people of death or whatever. I think that that's all like bullshit.
Yeah. Can fine art, like, so a lot of stuff has intent, and that sort of goes in line with authenticity. What's some of the like most interesting intent that you've seen in some art that you really appreciate?
Well, there's always this kind of like two-edged sword of like the audience interpretation and the artist's intent. So basically, like, the artist like makes something, and with the intention of it coming across a certain way, and whatever the audience decides it is what it actually is. Yeah. Once the artist finishes it and gives it up to be in the public realm, then the artist doesn't really have much say in what goes on. So intent is kind of like useless in some ways, because it's good to have intent, because you have to like you're trying to make communications, you're trying to make connections with people, and you're trying to like inspire thoughts or actions in some cases or whatever. And if somebody like if your intent is to like, well, when I want somebody to see this, I want them to be happy.
Mm-hmm.
And then the audience comes and like 20 people see it and they're like, this makes me want to throw up.
Yeah.
Then you're obviously like, your intent is you're not doing what you want to do.
Yeah.
So you gotta like change your method up to like make it more in vein of what you want to do. And that's what critique is all about, is like making your intent match, making you such a good communicator that whenever you say something, people see that.
Yeah.
And so I guess like specific examples, it's kind of like hard to come by because it's always like an afterthought in some way. Because as an artist, you kind of look at art from the realm of like of the audience.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that whenever I make music, sometimes like it has a lot of emotional intent, and so a lot of that might, like, in the same way that you're saying that like critique influences how well your intent is coming across, and to an extent. Because I'm trying to wrap this up, that the better that we get at communicating our intent, the better we get at being authentic.
Yeah, I could see that. One is like an extension of the other for sure. I think. Especially like as a maker and somebody whose intention is to create something with the purpose of communicating a message, like people, the audience, which is like everyone else on the planet, like sees what you're saying and sees what else you're saying, like through your lifestyle and your choices, and sees what you're saying through your eating habits or whatever. And, you know, like in a sense, like everybody that observes anyone else's kind of trying to formulate some like idea of who they are and whether or not they're, and someone who's inauthentic is somebody who doesn't make sense. That doesn't really bode well with humans. We like things to make sense.
Yeah.
So
cool. I feel like we need to end it there. But I do have to ask one question that I forgot to ask in the last one, which is, what advice do you have for people?
I don't really give advice. I don't know. I try not to think that I know more or less than anybody else. It's just different perspectives. So I guess just empathy, just acknowledging other people's perspectives is good.
Cool. I will accept that as an answer for advice. Once again, where can we find your stuff?
I have an Instagram. It's called Nathan_M_Kent, K-E-N-T.
And you can find some of the art that we talked about just now on there, which is really interesting and is better represented as opposed to an audio podcast. So, Nathan, thank you. I see that your wife is eager to get in contact with you, which is why I'm trying so quickly to wrap this up.
Oh, you're good.
I'm Santiago Ramones, and you can find the stuff that I do on my website, santiagoramones.com, which is where you will find some of my music, including this podcast, which you can support by contacting me and reviewing on iTunes. I was in every podcast with my 3 things, which are: love never fails, it's going to be okay, I might be wrong.